Hello, welcome to Daily Work Remote Strategies with us, the coaches of Silicon Valley Change and my coach by SVC. Today, we're talking about overwhelmed. Why am I bringing this up? I am bringing this up because we have been hearing this from you. We've been hearing, okay, my work is increasing. It is only increasing. I know I'm saving commute time, but the actual time that I'm at my desk and that I check work even after dinner, that is increasing. The amount of appropriate, but it happens, distraction is also increasing. The things that I need to do in the house and around the house, there's just so much that I'm feeling overwhelmed. We're hearing this again and again and again. And I'll tell you one thing that I've been meaning to say on these programs. First of all, if you are doing pretty well already, you're probably here listening and watching right now. Why? Because I know the people who are commenting on this and the people who are watching. So you're probably already doing pretty well. So what we aim to give you in these 20-minute brief webinars, live webinars, are tweaks to that. What is something else that you could be doing when you're overwhelmed? So keep doing the things that are working. And here's one more way, one more thing you can do, one more tool if you're overwhelmed. First, let me start with what you've probably already tried. So you've probably already tried prioritizing. I'm overwhelmed. Here's what I need to do, but I have this and this and this and this and this. How do I prioritize? So you've probably tried that. You've probably tried putting things on your calendar, which is a super system, but sometimes even that backfires. And what I mean by that is need to call the dentist, need to even order food. I mean, just basic things. Need to do administrative work for work. Need to reach out to these people, so more strategic for work. You could be putting them in hour chunks on your calendar, so you actually do it during those hours. Awesome, great technique if that's working for you. It's been shown to work so well for people because that specific time is dedicated to that specific task. But if that's not working for you, you've probably also tried to, and this is most of us, written a to-do list or written a task list, maybe in one of these apps that I use as well, like Trello. So these are things that you might have tried. You've tried prioritizing. You've tried scheduling a block of time for an action on your calendar. You've tried writing to-do lists, which we all do. Let me give you one more. And this additional way of doing something comes actually from someone. It doesn't even come from me. It comes from someone who read something that Margaret and I wrote. It's a little bit of a story. Again, not from my experience. So I've mentioned this before, Margaret Greenberg and I, a close friend and a wonderful colleague, she and I have written this book together called Profit from the Positive. It went live, a while ago, over 5 years ago. And one of the people who reached back out to me, this is so wonderful. Sometimes you work with somebody in a different part of your life or in a different phase, and then they come back and you end up working with them again. So somebody who I'd worked with before had reached out once the book came out and was looking at it. And he reached out and he said, hey, Senia, this actually really helped. I have increased my productivity by 30% just by using this book. And I said, well, what? Like, what are you doing? Which part of the book? The book covers a lot of things. It covers productivity, resilience, using your strengths. So what did you do? And he said, you know that section on flip-flopping and multitasking? Well, I actually applied it and I used this part. And so that's what I'm presenting to you. Let me tell you about multitasking first. Multitasking is only 2% of us ever are really good at multitasking, according to researchers. So if you think you're part of that 2%, odds are not in your favor that you are in that part of the world that is really good at multitasking. Multitasking is really hard. And we actually single task, but we switch frequently. So if an email comes in, that's important, a text comes in, we're switching. And that, again, Margaret, my co-author, and I, we refer to that as flip-flop costs. So you can even think of your flip-flops on the beach in Hawaii, somewhere nice with sand, somewhere where you may not have been in the past few months. Switching costs decrease productivity by 40%. What does that mean in practical terms? Suppose you're actually at your desk for 8 hours a day and you're working. Let's say it's 8 hours a day. 40% of that is over 3 hours. So if you have something and you switch to an email that came in that's important, and then you go back to that important work and you switch somewhere else and you switch, that is decreasing your efficiency and efficacy. Sorry to use such a technical, so almost a psych word, but that is what this person who read our book was referring to. So what did he do? Which part of our book did he take on? He took on batching. What is batching? Batching means take on the things that you're doing in terms of calling the people that are important. Take that on in one set of work. Take on administrative work in another set of work. Take on different things about reaching out to your team or to other people internally as a different group of work. Just group it, batch it. So my question to you is, if you were to take this on, if you were to try batching your work, what are some of the batch categories that you would create? So let me know in the comments, what are some batch categories that would make sense to you? And as you're writing that down, I'll talk about myself. Batch categories that make sense to me are when I'm reaching out to others. And I tend to make sure when to do it during the day that works for me. Another batch category is administrative. I am not a fan of administrative. I am not so great at it, but that I do that when I'm sort of even at my least productive. So I don't use up my most productive time on that. And that's just me. So yours could be different. But what are some of your big categories? And I'll tell you some. So I'll look at my notes. I'll tell you some that a lot of people use. They use calling people or having meetings, video meetings with people as a category. They call big picture strategy, or the work that you can only do on your own, as a category. And people often use administrative or everything, both work and not work, that you need to do as a category. So what are some that are yours? If you were to batch your work, what are some categories that you would do? And I will give you one other perspective on this and then open it up to questions. If you are doing this, if you've streamlined these flip-flop costs and you have looked at your calendar and batched your work, and in fact, sort of a digression, but some people even batch by days. So they will say Monday and Thursday, I reach out to people, and Tuesday, I do only administrative, whatever that may be for you. But that way, even when you give your calendar link out to people, you can allow calendars for only specific days or specific times of the day for when you want to be doing those tasks. So those are different ways of doing batching. Thank you for the comments. So we've got Brian, who's saying that he would batch by the kind of work, such as email, but he would do work and personal email flip-flops. I understand exactly. Flip-flops are very common for what we're doing. Thank you. So it's exactly those kinds of batchings that I'm asking about. Creating social media content, Anne Marie says, as a category of things. Thank you. Yes. So that if you try to create social media content and you're doing it between doing other work or between reaching out to clients, you might not be as focused on that thing. Thank you for that. That's really clear. And I'll add one other thing. So these are your work categories and what work categories you have. When I was an initial starting student in the PhD program, in my PhD program in organizational behavior, we had a professor come in. And she gave us a really nice additional, almost like a superpower that you could add on top of this batching thing. She came in and she said, most PhD students, and by the way, you should follow her. You should follow her on LinkedIn. You should follow her on Twitter. It's Jennifer Acker, marketing professor at Stanford Business School. Jennifer Acker came to all of us and she said, you may think there's a lot to do and you're going to be going to your classes, you're going to be analyzing data, you're going to be in touch with your professors, you're going to be doing all these things. But you are probably going to be doing this all throughout the day while on caffeine and pretty intense. So what I suggest to you, she said, what I suggest to you is pick that one time when you know you're most productive. For some people, it's early in the morning. For some people, it's after midnight, especially for PhD students, that can happen. For some people, it's early in the afternoon, right after lunch. Whatever that time is, guard that time. Use that time for your deepest, your most creative work on your research topics. So that's sort of a plus to the batching, is to figure out your own. Now, this is not, you might have a sense of it, but you might take a time over a week or over exploring and experimenting. What is my best time to do different things? I'm going to close it with that and just summarize, and then I'm totally open for questions. So what we've talked about is, if we're overwhelmed, what can we do? We've tried other things, but a suggestion is to batch our work. And if you take the review, one Amazon review about our book, Profit from the Positive, exactly says this: 30% improvement in productivity just by adding this thing. So I suggest you play around with it. As with anything else we present in these mini webinars, play around with it. How would it look for you? How could you try it? How could you literally, today is Wednesday, how could you try it today? What could you do that would make this something that would work for you today? Thank you so much. We're delighted to be with you today. We're here every day, Monday to Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific. I'll stay on for another couple of minutes to see if you have questions about anything relating to this or being overwhelmed. Otherwise, we're delighted to see you, and we'll see you again at 11. So I'll give a little pause for you to type in questions if you have them. Well, then the closing thing that I would leave you with is, if you're overwhelmed, try a few different things, but try them in the way that Ben Franklin tried them, which is, hello, good to see you. Try them in the way that Ben Franklin tried them, which is try them for some period of time. Like for a week, I'm going to try batching. Or for a week, I'm going to try prioritizing so that every task is on my calendar. But give it a little bit, so you're not always hopping around, but you're actually giving something a shot to see if you wear it well. Like, is this a sweater I want to put on? Is this productivity method something that works for me? Oh, okay, very cool. Hey, thank you so much. Brian brings up that one thing he's heard is having an overcoming overwhelm partner works. I haven't heard that, but I like that idea. In the master's program that we went through, one of our professors is James Kowalski, and he introduced us to this idea of an Aristotelian friend, which is somebody who helps you. You're both helping each other improve. And it's a brilliant and beautiful idea, because it really is about co-creating and that you're both moving forward. And actually, Brian adds, schedule an hour of Zoom time together. You know, I am in a group like this. We meet on Mondays. It's really helpful. People actually get on the beginning of a call, then they go quiet, so they mute themselves and darken their screen, and then they come back and say, here's what I've accomplished. Let me tell you two other things that people are saying right now. It's like study hall in school. It is. Exactly, it is. And let me come to this question in just a second. Anne-Marie's been saying that she's been trying sub-batching. So within social media content creation, she's spending a chunk of the time just creating the graphics or just filming the video. I would love to know how that works for you over time, because I could imagine that is really similar, but it's also, you need a kind of a different frame of mind for creating the graphics or for filming the video. I would love to hear how that works. Thank you so much for that. And a question that we have from somebody on Facebook is, does batching help with procrastination? Does batching help with procrastination? What do you all think? I will give you two answers to that. Does batching help with procrastination? I think it both helps and it doesn't necessarily help. So let me start with how it helps. I've been really interested in integrative thinking recently, which is that, two things could be true at the same time. So here's how I think batching does help with procrastination. If you know that the first 2 hours of the day, you're only replying to client-related emails, or you're only putting together documents for clients. So if you know that you're doing that in the first 2 hours of the day, you might put that off for the first half hour because you still have an hour and a half to do it. So maybe that's where Anne-Marie's suggestion of sub-batching works. So if you sub-batch by client or by type of work or by things that you need to do. So I think it could help. I started with how it might not help, because you might actually procrastinate within that batch time. But I think how it could help is with time boxing. So I don't know if you're familiar with this. You probably are. There's a Pomodoro technique, or just the idea of time boxing. So Pomodoro is that you set a timer for 25 minutes, whether you have a cute little Apple-looking alarm clock that you can get online to do this, or you just set a timer. So 25 minutes and you're on, and you have to get some task done within those 25 minutes. And the other part is time boxing. I actually really like that. And you may laugh at me, because you're going to say, Senia, you study these productivity things, and you need these hacks as much as we do. And it's true. It's true. Haven't you ever found that the people who are most interested in a topic may need that topic the most? So time boxing. Here's my favorite way of time boxing. If I know I have a Zoom meeting in 20 minutes, I try to get something done in that 20 minutes. If somebody has had to reschedule a call, I try to get something done in that rescheduled time. So in times that either are a surprise to me or they come up unexpectedly, I really try to time box the specific thing, which is like putting a specific task into that Pomodoro 25 minutes. So I think that might be a way that I would answer that question. Does it work for procrastination? No, if you let that 2 hours gets shorter into 1.5 and 1 and so on. And yes, if you sub batch, and actually Anne Marie also commented, we don't need to put it up, but that, go ahead, that sounds fine, that she's been finding it to be a good match for her personality and to get into a focused state of mind. Thank you so much, everybody. I have to say, the most fun thing, we're trying this live and this broadcasting thing recently, just this week. And I have to say, the most fun thing so far is just hanging out with you. So actually seeing your names, knowing who's commenting, and knowing what else you're trying. Because we are not the end all and be all answers on these topics. We're people who have tried them, who have looked at the research, who have determined what works and what doesn't for some people and in some ways. So it's really good to hear these additional ones. Thank you so much. Great to see you. Tomorrow is Thursday, and we are on again at 11 a.m. Pacific. We are off this Friday, but we are on tomorrow and here every day at 11 a.m. Pacific. So good to see you. Have a wonderful day, and I suggest you get outside. Whatever you do, somehow get outside. All the best. See you again soon.